It's about that time of the year when you're about to see a lot of people recommending books that you should read in February because it's Black History Month. And yes, you should be reading books by Black authors all throughout the year, but I do understand why people take this month in particular to point out a few books that you should have on your February TBR. You're about to start seeing a lot of Toni Morrison, James Baldwin, and Octavia Butler on your For You page or your home page or wherever you consume your book content. And while I do think absolutely you should be reading those authors' catalogs, there are authors that are still alive that you should also be reading. So I curated a list of books to add to your TBR I think you've probably never heard of before. Most of these books I haven't read yet. Some of them just came out this year. Some of them I have read and loved, but tune in because I have quite the list for you. My name is Joanna Kimber. I'm an indie author, asterisk on the indie. I broke my list up into 4 sections: historical fiction, horror, and romance. Okay, diving right in, we're going to start with the 7 Daughters of Dupree. This one literally just came out a couple days before I recorded this, but already I'm seeing a lot of readers saying that this book was amazing, that it's probably going to be one of their favorite books of the year. Okay, I don't know what is happening, but the camera keeps shutting off. So if you keep seeing me jumping around from angle to angle, that's why, because I'm trying to figure out what the heck is going on with this device. The next book on the list is A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. This one came back to my mind because I was talking to a friend and we were talking about Jamaican lore. I recommended this book, but I also haven't read it. So I felt like a little bit of a hypocrite. This novel takes place during that time in Jamaican history where there was a lot of political unrest in Kingston, and Bob Marley was hosting a concert that was kind of spreading peace and love vibes, quelling the political angst that was happening. And right before that concert, 7 gunmen broke into his house and shot him and several other people. Rumor has it the CIA had a lot to play in that. Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson. If you've ever read Charmaine Wilkerson's novels, you know that she loves to blend the past and the present. After she is left at the altar, she kind of goes on this journey to self-discovery, and through that, she's exploring her family's history. There's this vase that is an heirloom in her family, and that vase was crafted during... Okay, where's my mic? I fixed the problem. We're good to go. Okay, through the novel and through her self-discovery, we follow the history of the vase from its inception during slavery. I won't give you much more than that because I feel like that would spoil it. The next book also just came out a couple days ago as I'm recording this, With Love from Harlem by Rashonda Tate. This one follows Hazel Scott, who is a very prestigious and historical Black musician and civil rights activist. It's set in Harlem, 1943, during the Harlem Renaissance. And personally for me, I typically love any book that's set in the Harlem Renaissance. I have never read a story that had elements from the Harlem Renaissance or was set during that time that I haven't loved. And that makes me extremely excited. This book follows her relationship with Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who was also a big civil rights activist and who went on to become a congressman, I believe. This has definitely been an anticipated read for many people, me included, and I think you should put it on your February TBR. Okay, let's move on to Black horror. I'm going to start with The Ring Shout. I read this in December. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't scary, really. And that's the thing about Black horror, is that I feel like a lot of Black horror is also just Black history, which is why I made it a main component of the list for Black History Month. For example, Ring Shout is about a woman with a magical sword that she conjured up during a very traumatic experience that she had. This is also set in the 1930s at the height of the KKK. Basically, she goes around hunting clan members who are actually demons wearing this flesh of clan members. Even though it is horror, to me this book felt very, very like speculative. I honestly feel like the KKK, the monsters that she was fighting, was meant to represent capitalism. And if you've read this book, let me know if you get where I'm going with that. Or if you do read this book this month, let me know if you see where I'm going with that. It also has a lot of elements from the Gullah Geechee culture, which the Gullah Geechee talk sounds a lot like patois, which is why I think the diaspora wars are fake and made up and a psyop. The next book I want to recommend is actually new to me. I heard of through way of the library. It's called Honeysuckle and Bone, and it's actually a young adult novel. I typically don't like young adult novels because I always can tell that they were written to appeal to teenagers, and I am not a teenager. But when I read the sample, I felt very compelled to continue going. And so I borrowed it through Libby. It follows a young woman who goes back to Jamaica, where her mother is from. We know she is running from something that has happened to her, but we don't know what. And she ends up working as an au pair for a very prestigious and powerful family. While she's there in the house, very strange things start to happen to her, and she starts to wonder if it's the people in the house doing it to her or if the house is damn near haunted. This sounds like such a good time. It actually came out last year, so I'm surprised that I haven't heard of it. The Human Origins of Beatrice Palmer and Other Essential Ghosts. I don't know how to explain this novel, but I did start reading it and I really liked it. I'll read you an excerpt from the synopsis. A tale told from the perspective of a mischievous narrator featuring the ruling calf who haunts butchers, Mama Glow, who lives in the ocean, a vain tiger, and an outsmarted snake. The Human Origins of Beatrice Porter and Other Essential Ghosts is set in a world as alive and unpredictable as Helen Oyeyemi's. Telling of the love between sisters who don't always see eye to eye, this extraordinary debut novel is a celebration of the power of stories, asking what happens to us when our stories are erased. Do we disappear or do we come back haunting? This one is another book that I have never heard of before, and it came out in 2024. Why the hell didn't I hear about this book? All I hear about is Dungeon Crawler Carl and let me stop. Now, my specialty, Black romance. It was so hard for me to find novels to recommend that I didn't already read, because remember, a lot of these books are for my TBR as well. I want to shout out today's sponsor, Kimberland, aka me. This month, I'm highlighting my book, Dry Cry. It's a Black contemporary romance between a young woman with a dream of owning her own restaurant who strikes out on her own for the first time after spending her entire life being taken care of and controlled by her father and the cafe owner who hires her to be his personal chef. It's slow burn, low on the spice, heavy on the urine. So if that's what you're into, check me out. I will have more info in the description box below. The first is actually a historical Black romance by the prolific Beverly Jenkins. Beverly Jenkins is one of the pioneers of the Black romance genre. I recommend any one of her novels, but the one on my list is The Taming of Jessie Rose. This one follows a young woman who is desperate not to let her family's compound, a ranch, land be taken, and the very handsome outlaw who is hired to help her protect this one. Next is Maybe in This Lifetime by Asia Monique. This one I have read, and I just love when Black women write weird romantic stuff, you know? And this one is basically follows a couple where the male lead ends up in a coma, and when he wakes up, the love of his life and his wife is actually married to another man. He's in an alternate universe. This one was essentially like such a sweet and just like beautiful book to read. The next one I haven't read, On Merit Alone. I read the sample long ago and I read the sample again for this video and I want to read it. I think it was one of those books that I just got swallowed up last year in my reading slump that I meant to read but just never got around to. I still recommend it because just by the sample I know it's going to be good. It's one of those books where the first 10 pages have you locked in. So basically, Merit is a basketball star and she has this knee injury that locks her out of an entire season. And so she's coming back trying to be better than ever, but of course she's nervous. Who does she get advice from? The most legendary player in the game, of course. And the two of them build a friendship and then, you know, they fall in love. It's a slow burn and I love a slow burn. My last rec for Black romance is Loved by You by Alexandra Lachelle. It is a second chance romance and a slow burn. I thought I didn't like second chance romance, but I loved Winter's Eve by A.E. Valdez, which is second chance. I loved Sweet Heat, which is second chance. I think I'm a second chance girl. I typically stay away from books where it's like they broke up but then they got back together because I don't believe in the concept of spinning the block. I'm sorry. Again, I did read the sample, so I'm confident in recommending it to you. For this one, I'll also read an excerpt from the synopsis. Together, they'll confront buried heartbreak, long hidden secrets, and a love that refuses to fade. Vanessa's journey towards self-acceptance and healing collides with Xavier's drive to build a future that includes her. But can they trust each other and themselves enough to make it work this time? For readers who crave an authentic, slow-burning, soul-stirring romance, this is a story of resilience, family bonds, and second chances. Discover the journey of two people whose love adventures, girl, endures time and trials, pulling them together in a way neither can resist. I'm excited to read that one. I'm excited to read all of these, to be honest with you. Anyways, this TBR is not strict. I speak of myself here. I am a very, very, very moody reader. So what I read depends solely on what I feel like reading. So if I don't feel like reading any of these and read for something else and my February wrap up is completely different from this TBR, just know I told you already. It's February. Read a book by a Black author that is still alive. It's good for your health. Let's go TBR hunting. First stop, the library. Look at all that snow. No. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you just haven't gotten it yet because it just came out. So that was a bust. My library is typically pretty good at having their releases. I actually thought what was more likely to happen was that they got them in already and they were already borrowed, because my library is really good for that too. They put me on the wait list. That was for The Seven Daughters of Dupree and With Love from Harlem. It's also just good to request books that your library doesn't have so that they buy them. We are going to go to Barnes and Noble and see what kind of damage that we can do. God dang. I had no idea this copy of the Stormy was so thick. You guys, I am so disappointed. The books that I came here to buy are new. It got to the point where I just stopped recording because I was like, this is exactly what I was talking about in my why people would never stop buying books from Amazon video, because how do I walk into this store and y'all have a whole bunch of nothing? They literally have the same books on the front table that they do in the back. Then a lot of the books by Black authors they have in here are old. So I decided to go to the other Barnes & Noble tonight. I don't know. We're gonna see if they prove me wrong. I really hope that they do. Y'all are so fake, because why did you let me go in Barnes & Noble and buy that many books? Let me show you guys what I got. The Barnes & Noble in the second location did in fact prove me wrong. Not only did they have what I was looking for, they had other books that I want as trophies. I did pick up Good Dirt. Good Dirt is actually out in paperback, so the fact that I was able to find a hardcover, blessed. I also did get the 7 Daughters of Dupree. I also got With Love from Harlem. Honestly, guys, I wasn't expecting them to have them for bonus. I didn't mention this in the video, but this just came out. I actually have Clay Kane's other book, The Grift, which is nonfiction. I've borrowed it on Libby and I wanted to read it first before reading this one. It's actually a collection of short stories, and on my bookish bingo, a short story collection is one of the items. It says, the New York Times bestselling author of The Grift takes historical fiction to a new level in a genre-defying novel, both intimate and epic, that unveils ferocious stories of revolt against chattel slavery in the 19th century American South. These stories, largely erased or forgotten, are now unearthed and brought vividly to life. Very on point for Black History Month, if I do say so myself. I did go ahead and pick up a copy of Restore Me. Why is this book so thick, y'all? Let me show y'all the original indie version. Why? This is how thick the book is. Now, mind you, it's still a decently long story, right? But tell me, why did they make it that thick? All right, let's run the outro. If you like this video, please like this video. Subscribing to my mailing list is the best way to keep in touch with me. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you like to see more videos like this one. I'll see you next time. Happy reading.